I think when people get onto the campus, especially at WSU, and they feel the support, and they get a sense that anything is possible here. And it's the student athletes that come and have that mindset.
I think one of the biggest things to be a captain and a leader on this team is to set the tone and to show guys, how we're going to go about our business. Whether that's from how we carry ourselves in the community to how we practice. And there's a certain level and a standard that we need to uphold as a team.
Welcome into the Inside WSU Athletics podcast. Here we go. Another episode off and going. It is such a busy time of year, and we've got a packed episode. Our guests here coming up this week, Wayne Phipps, Director of Cross Country and Track and Field here at WSU, and also Brock Dieu, Senior for the WSU football team. Has been at WSU his whole career, gets it done on the field and in the classroom. So excited to talk with both of our guests coming up, but welcoming in, as we always do, Director of Athletics here for the Cougs and McCoy, and kind of picking up where we left off last week. We've talked about how this is a jam-packed time of the year, and I know you got to do some traveling. Can you tell us about hitting the road with the Cougs here recently?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it's good to see you, Chris. Always a pleasure. As I mentioned last week, I had the chance to get ready to hit the road with our women's volleyball team over to Seattle University and had a great trip with them. What a great group of student athletes and coaches and just amazing people in support of the team and the Cougs. And came away with a victory, which was excellent. So I never claim victories because then I have to claim the defeats too. So we'll just say it was a great trip, a great group to travel with, and then had a chance to watch them back in Bowler Gym on Saturday defeat Gonzaga. Again, really great. The team's in a really good place, I think, as we continue through WCC play. And soccer got a draw on the road after, quite an adventure the previous week with their contest. So it was good. That was a little more garden variety soccer, I think, much to Todd Schulenberger and the team's, relief. And then, men's and women's golf. We had tennis. Swimming's getting ready, I think, to hit the road for the first time this week. They'll head down to Fresno. And I have to admit, like a football bye weekend in the fall. It was a beautiful fall here in Pullman. Got to check out the farmer's market. And for those of you keeping track, I'm out of my boot. So I got to walk around a little bit with two tennis shoes, which was way more exciting to me than it probably should be. But it's really good. So how about you? What did you do with your bye week?
I was like you on Saturday. I was at Bowler Gym with the family. I brought the wife and my wife Carly and I and our two kiddos, 3 years old and 7, almost 8 months old. So we were there at Bowler Gym, and my 3-year-old son loves nothing more than the marching band and Butch, and of course cheering on the Cougs. But those two are stars to him. So it was Butch's birthday.
Yes,
and that was the big deal. And he walks around our house pretending to play a trombone and doing the fight song. So seeing the marching band in person, anytime that happens, it's a big day in our house. So that was a fun way to spend the bye week.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome. So speaking of your wife, Carly, I meant to ask you about this and didn't. Now we're going to have our head rowing coach, Jane LaRiviere, on soon to talk about all things rowing, including the amazing reunion that we hosted right at the end of September. And your wife, Carly, is a women's rowing alum for WSU and she had a chance to go, I think, didn't she?
She did. She had a great time. One of her old teammates was able to come to town and stay with us, and it was really neat. She had an awesome time going and being able to reconnect with a bunch of people. And I think even as she was saying, beyond reconnecting with her teammates and that generation, being able to mingle with people from the program from different generations as well. And when she gets a chance, she takes our kiddos down to the river and cheers on the team when those opportunities come about. So that was really neat. We're incredibly proud of her and our family of her career with the Cougar rowing program, and it's fun to teach our kids about that as well, and to tell them about all of Mom's accomplishments. And her and I were pretty similar in the same way. We're both from Washington originally. We're both from the Seattle area, but we came here to WSU, and this is home, and it's been home, and this is where we're raising our family. So it's neat when everyone kind of comes back and sees us. And I know that reunion provided an opportunity for that.
Oh, that's great. Well, like as you mentioned, I think it was celebrating the 35th anniversary of varsity rowing becoming a varsity sport here at Washington State, women's rowing. And I've heard so many of these stories where people, just got to meet, multiple generations of people or reconnect with some folks that they, were here with at the same time. So it's always great to hear that. So
Yeah.
good.
It was really neat, and we were going to thank the folks who babysitted because we were on the road for football in Fort
Yes.
Collins, so it really worked out really well. So let's just jump into our guests here coming up. We're excited to talk with Wayne Phipps, our first guest here on this week's show, and then Brock Dieu coming up after. Well, we are ready for our first guest on this week's episode. And can you tell us who we have joining us here today?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I'm super excited to have Wayne Phipps on this week. Wayne is our director of men's and women's cross country, track and field here at Washington State. Been here quite a while, on the Palouse quite a while, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. But one of the questions, burning questions we didn't get to ask you during your interview process quite some time ago.
Okay,
Like you grew up in British Columbia, right? So
that's
you
right.
grew up in Canada. How on earth did you get into track and field and not ice hockey?
Oh, that is a great question. My brother, really good at ice hockey, me not so much. So learned to skate, could skate straight and fast, couldn't turn and couldn't stop. So took the speed aspect of it. And when I was 9 years old, joined a track club out of the advice of my elementary school gym teacher. And it's been a great ride from an athlete standpoint and certainly from a coach's standpoint. And I was very fortunate to have a great community and support around me. And my dad actually was my coach through a lot of the period of time that I was in, well, I guess in high school and throughout. So he's always been a strong supporter from that standpoint.
Well, Wayne, you mentioned that path, and you've been at WSU for 11 years. Prior to that, 19 years at the University of Idaho. The Palouse, obviously a big part of your life, a big part of your career. Can you take us through that path that led you to Idaho and then ultimately making your way here to Pullman?
Yeah. So after graduating, I went to the University of Montana and then graduated from the University of British Columbia, then went to the University of Oregon for my master's degree, and then to the University of Idaho for PhD work and work with the track team there. And I remember, pulling into the Palouse thinking, oh, this will be kind of a cool place to be for a few years while I do my PhD. And then 30 years later, this is absolutely home. And I can't imagine myself any other place. This has been just such an amazing experience from day one. It's a great environment, but I think that what makes this area so special are the people.
So, Wayne, speaking of the people, maybe transitioning to the athletes, I mean, you have coached a ton of amazing athletes, but some truly world-class athletes, both during your time at the University of Idaho and Washington State. What is it about this area that attracts these world-class athletes? And just maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. I wish I knew exactly the answer to that. But, I think when people get onto the campus, especially at WSU, and they feel the support, and they get a sense that anything is possible here. And it's the student athletes that come and have that mindset when through the recruiting process or when they arrive and the question arises in terms of their goals, and their goals are wanting to make it to the Olympic Games or represent their country at a world championship, and knowing that right off the bat helps me and the staff guide them. And I've been blessed with some amazing student athletes, from most recently CJ Allen, a relatively recent WSU grad who went through the system, was a solid high school athlete, and then every year got better and better at WSU, and then goes on to represent the U.S. at World Championships, and then last year at the Olympic Games. So it's been an amazing experience for me, and the things I've been able to do because of our sport, just absolutely incredible.
Wayne, this past summer, WSU transitioned to a distance-focused program. Obviously, very difficult to know that student athletes that you have mentored for years were no longer going to be here, but also allowed the program to concentrate efforts in one area and compete at a higher level nationally in the distance programs.
Yeah, certainly a difficult decision. And I think that's just like represents, I think, the landscape of intercollegiate athletics right now. Difficult decisions, but it's been a trend in our sport actually for quite some time, where programs realize they need to specialize in a certain event area, and it's certainly become more and more popular over the last year or so. And as difficult as it has been, and there were amazing student athletes, it really has allowed us to provide, I think, a better student athlete experience, including increased competitive opportunities. What we've been able to do just recently in our travel with cross country is really helping develop our student athletes. And one of our program goals, and one of my program goals since coming to WSU, is to be considered as an NCAA National Program of the Year. And in order to do that, you have to get a team to the NCAA championships in cross country, score a point indoors, and score a point outdoors. And you say to yourself, oh, that seems pretty easy. Why? Is that a really ultimate goal? But there's only 10 or 12 programs that are able to do that each year. And the biggest hurdle, pardon the pun, is that NCAA qualifying from a cross country standpoint. So unless you have a very strong focus on cross country, it's next to impossible to hit those goals. So our group has really done a great job. We've improved quite a bit just in a very short period of time, and it gives us an opportunity and maybe a better positioning to be able to achieve those goals, because those student athletes that will help us get to the NCAA championship as a team in cross country will also compete for us to score points indoors and outdoors.
So, Wayne, maybe keeping with both that a little bit, and then the previous question we discussed, over the summer, you had some recruits come and they saw the Palouse Hills, and you barely had driven anywhere here, and they immediately fell in love with it. We've been fortunate to host, certainly conference and NCAA competitions, championships here. And is the Palouse a hidden gem? I mean, for cross country and distance runners, because of the beauty and the hills and the training and things way more about. So
yeah, it absolutely is. Within just minutes of campus, there are thousands of miles of dirt roads, gravel roads, and trails. And it sounds funny, but for a cross country runner or distance runner, they love them. And it's so key to what we do, being able to go a different run every day, being able to be on soft surfaces. They're running up to 100 miles a week. So whenever we can be on soft surface, it's going to impact us in a huge way from a reduction of injuries. And just the rolling hills prepare us for every possible cross-country course that you could ever find out there. So people really do fall in love with it, and it just makes it so easy for us to access so many different places to run, and the support we see wherever we go in this area. I use a neat example. We had left a cone at the start of one of our runs from the previous year, and then when we showed up for one of the first day of practice, one of our favorite roads to run. Yes, we're that nerdy that we have favorite roads, and the family that owns a house right by the start of this road, their kids had made a sign. It was Butch dressed up as a runner, and it said, "Go Cougs and good luck this season." And I'm thinking to myself, what other place on the planet are you going to get that level of support just randomly? So on top of the amazing places to run, the support that we receive, no matter where we go around here, is absolutely next level.
Well, what a great story that is. And both men's and women's cross country programs are off to fast starts, getting national acclaim. How enjoyable is it to coach these teams?
Yeah, they make us look good. Coach Harmon, the women's head coach, has done an amazing job. And it is so much fun to show up to practice every day. They're so invested, so bought in. It's an absolute pleasure every day. So I get to show up, be around and surrounded by amazing people drive a few minutes out to some amazing places to run. What a better way to start your day. I mean, there is not a better way to start, at least not start my day. So I can't put into words the quality of character on top of the ability and work ethic that this group has. It's both on the both men and women's side.
So, Wayne, I know we're close on time here, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about one of my favorite topics. How is Femke? Femke the Bulldog, how is she?
So Femke is amazing. So the name Femke Bulldog came from this famous 400 herder world champion whose name was Femke Bull, and we thought it would be pretty funny to go Femke Bulldog with it. So we have been working on hurdles. She's doing a great job. Just had her first birthday, and she's grown from being a little potato when I first brought her by your office to a giant bulldog-shaped pumpkin now.
I love it. Well, she's overdue for a visit. You know, office hours on Monday. She's always welcome. So,
well, that's awesome. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, Wayne, great stuff. We appreciate you taking the time. Thanks so much for joining us here and having this conversation.
All right. Thank you so much. And as always, go Cougs.
Well, it's time now for our second guest here on this week's edition of the Inside WSU Athletics podcast. And Ann, we have the distinction of having the first ever student athlete on for the podcast, the first of many, but it is Brock Dieu. We can't wait to talk to Brock here.
I know, the first current student athlete, Brock. This is so amazing. We're so thrilled you could join us today. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, what an honor to be here. I appreciate it. You choose me.
So let's just get right into it. So you're from Arizona, right? How did you come to Washington State? How did you arrive here?
Well, I think it's 5 years ago now, my freshman or senior year of high school. I had some recruitment, and Coach Rolovich's staff at the time was recruiting me, and I had a whole bunch of conversations, and at the time, no visits to WSU. It's a whole lot of Zoom calls and FaceTime. So I saw the city of Pullman and saw Washington really for the first time over a Zoom call, and saw the facilities. And, I just kind of fell in love with the people who were here, and, what I could do here, and, decided that this was going to be home for the next 5 years.
So how quickly have those 5 years gone? Maybe some years quicker than others, or all quick, or not so much? Tell us about it.
It's funny, and I go back to this all the time. I tell the young guys, but the days go slow, but the weeks fly by. So the days, whether it's an off day or a busy day or a game day, it seems like they go pretty slow as you're going about your business, and as you're going from practice to meeting and talking to the guys. But all of a sudden, at the end of the week, you realize, oh my gosh, where did this week go? And now we're starting it all over again. So I think the years have gone pretty quick too, but I definitely related to that.
Yeah, that's a good saying. I don't know that I've ever heard that, but that is so true about the days versus the weeks. So what makes Washington State so special in your eyes? Obviously, as you mentioned, you've, been here for 5 years, and you made the decision to come here and stay here. So what makes this a special place?
I think the biggest thing is the people in Pullman. And it's, the fact that I can't be in an airport without a Cougs shirt on and somebody telling me go Cougs, or, being around the city and you can feel everything kind of shut down for a big game, or, just the fact that everybody's kind, and I can talk to my neighbors about, whatever in the city of Pullman. And Washington State professors are so good to you. And, from the students to the staff to the facilities to everything, I think it's top notch. And, it's just great to be able to be part of such a, kind of a working class university that really takes care of its own.
Well, you are one of 7 seniors, Brock, who have spent their entire careers at WSU. With the landscape these days and the portal and movement that comes with that, how much of that is a badge of honor for you to be one of just those handful of seniors to be there from the beginning and now into your senior year?
I don't think I've thought about it until this year, especially because my whole time here, it's been a series of a revolving door. The whole staff got fired my freshman year. Then we got a whole new coaching staff, and I've been through 3 head coaches, 3 strength staffs, 5 offensive line coaches, and that's just been players upon players coming in and out. And so I think to be able to say that I stuck it out at one place, and and did everything I could to stay a Coug and be a Coug, I think is pretty awesome to say, especially in the world of college sports today.
So, Brock, you're mechanical engineering, right? You got your degree in mechanical engineering and you're now working on a master's in that same area. I mean, wow, that's a lot to manage on and off the field. Maybe why mechanical engineering? What do you love about that field? And then I've got one follow-up question about a rumor I've heard. So tell me first about mechanical engineering. What's great about it?
Well, I grew up and I worked construction my whole life, but realized I didn't want to do that, for the rest of my life because, you don't get paid very much and it's very hard labor. So I wanted to do something with my hands and to work and to be in an environment where I can solve problems. And after talking to my uncle, who is also a mechanical engineer, my older sister is a chemical engineer. I realized that mechanical engineering is the best field for me because it's a way for me to solve problems in three-dimensional spaces that move, and I find it fascinating. And so it's funny, after I finished my bachelor's degree, I thought I either had the option to go the easy route and do some golf and fly fishing and yoga for a semester, or I can say that I got my master's in mechanical engineering from WSU. So, I decided to make the most of the opportunity I had and go chase it.
So the rumor I wanted to ask you about then, I heard there was a team competition maybe last season, where your mechanical engineering background and fortitude may have come in handy.
Yes, there's actually two events I won last year. It was a pasta tower and then a tinfoil boat competition we had. And I won both of those, which I was pretty fired up about.
I love it. I love it when academics and athletics meet, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Competition always. So I love it.
That is great to hear. Were those team competitions, Brock? Because if they were team competitions, I'd bet you might be the first pick in the draft to want to have on your team.
Yeah, so it would be a Friday night in the hotel before a game, and so it'd be kind of like sometimes it would be like Pictionary or some sort of dice game or just some sort of small game that we play to kind of get guys' minds off of the stress of things. So I definitely think I carried my team a little bit in those events, but they were great contributors to we worked as a well-rounded unit and getting supplies and get everything done. So we made the most of what we had, and we took the W on those ones.
I love it.
Well, with that, you're a captain, you're an obvious leader on the team. What are the responsibilities that come with that, and how do you embrace that role?
I think one of the biggest things to be a captain and a leader on this team is to set the tone and to show guys, how we're going to go about our business. Whether that's from how we carry ourselves in the community to how we practice. And there's a certain level and a standard that we need to uphold as a team. And I think that's the biggest role I have in keeping that standard and passing that standard down to, the freshmen and the sophomores and the younger generation coming in.
So off the field, I believe you got married this past summer. Is that right?
Yes, June 28th.
Congratulations, June 28th. I
Thank
love
you.
it. I love it. So
Yeah.
anything you're willing to share, tell us a little bit about, either your wife or the wedding or how you guys met, whatever you want to share. And if you don't want to share, you can just say, mind your own business, Ann. That's fine too.
So, kind of a funny story, but I met her in Pullman. Her mom is from Pullman. And so her mom is from here. Her aunt and her grandparents still live here. So she came back. She was born and raised in Billings, Montana. And so she came back for a internship here in Pullman. I met her at church, and our story kind of started here in Pullman. And she came 2 summers ago, and then came 3 summers ago, and then 2 summers ago, and then this last summer we got married. And so it's fun to see that we started in Pullman, and then we met up in Pullman as we flew down to Arizona for the wedding. So kind of started and ended here, and it's been really nice to have her, and she's been in all the games, and she's been a great support. So it's awesome to have another support system with me in Bowman.
Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
That is great. So going into your last year of football, you get married in June. Is there time for a honeymoon? How does the honeymoon work? I know that you're a busy man.
We had about 3 days. So the 4th of July break, we got married, and then we went to San Diego for a couple days, and then we had a reception in Billings for her family to be there. So pretty quick turnaround. We'll probably do something again after the season, but got to make the most of what you got.
That's awesome. Well, last week we had Coach Rogers on, and we'll ask him the same question, or we'll ask you the same question that we asked him. If you could make one change to college football, what would that be?
Hmm. That's tough, but I think in such a crazy landscape of where schools are starting to buy players and that sort of thing, I think it's important to keep the heart and soul of college football alive. And really that's the tradition and the pride of the colleges. So I think one rule going forward would be if you're going to go in the transfer portal, you can only do it once. And then you have to stay, kind of like, high school rules. Not necessarily sit out, but you only get one time to move. And so I think that will really keep it rather than a pay to play and more of a, well, you can get out of a situation, but really at the end of the day, you got to preserve the heart and soul of college football.
Well, Brock, you are someone who gets it done on the field and you get it done off the field clearly as well. We appreciate your time here today. Thanks so much for joining us. And as we talk here right now, best of luck coming up at Ole Miss this weekend and the rest of the season.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Great to be here.
Again, a big thank you not only to Brock Dieu, but Wayne Phipps as well. And as always to Ann McCoy, that will do it for this week's edition of the Inside WSU Athletics podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
Cougs.